a rubber band, an axe, and you're gonna be living the dream. What's up guys, Dan here, Coalcracker Bushcraft. Beautiful day to bushcraft here in Pennsylvania, so that's what we are doing. We're taking our axe out that we sharpened in a recent video, and we're going to be putting it not to the test, but to use, because we're going to be prepping some stuff for future videos. So with prepping things with an axe, you got to know how to use the axe properly. Now, a lot of people, and I was in this category at one time too, as soon as you put an axe in their hand, they want to cut big timbers. They want to be like Paul Bunyan and just fell the biggest tree they can find in the forest. But here's the thing, when it comes to bushcraft, that is not something that we do. Not because we can't use that big lumber for different projects, but because it's just unmanageable, and the majority of projects that we do require smaller materials. So a good rule of thumb is just that. We're gonna use thumb-sized and smaller material for all of our projects, with the only exception being if it is going to be a structural component to something. That means if you're building a shelter or a sleeping system that requires some type of timber, then it needs to get a little bit bigger. But for all the other projects, good rule of thumb is the size of your thumb or smaller. Okay, so just looking right here, this little cluster of trees, there's stuff in here that we would generally lean towards to use, and it's way bigger than my thumb. It's probably 2 thumbs big, but it just seems like out here in the woods with the vastness, it seems like that would be a good size thing, but I'm telling you, it wouldn't. So you go down a little bit bigger than thumb, and then you go stuff that's like pinky size, that might be a little too thin, and then there's some stuff in there that's thumb size, and that's ideally what we're looking for. It's going to work best. So when it comes time to cut this stuff, what do we do? Do we just stand here and chop, or what? Well, there's a trick to it. It's going to save a lot of time and a lot of energy. All right, so when it comes to cutting a sapling properly in the woods with an edge tool, you got to forget about the whole face cut and the back cut and all that stuff. That does not apply to cutting small saplings. But what does apply is this, a rubber band. So you might be wondering, how does a rubber band apply to cutting saplings? So here, I do this at all the classes, okay? I say, listen, if I hold this rubber band and it's all loose like this, and you put your axe just against it, it's going to flex the rubber band and nothing's gonna happen. But if I take this rubber band and I stretch it super tight like this, and now you take that sharp axe and just touch and press a little bit, what's most likely gonna happen? Pew! It's gonna break in half, or get cut in half, not break, it's gonna cut in half, and you have 2 pieces now. So we are utilizing the item against itself, and that's what we're going to do when it comes to a tree. So what we have here is a sapling. This is the sapling that I'm choosing, thumb size. It's going to be perfect for a lot of upcoming projects. Now I'm going to just use the back side of my axe, the non-sharp side, because it's going to show a little bit better for this demo. So if I hit my axe against this sapling, what you're noticing is the force is transferring to this, and then it's moving. Okay, so when I would use my sharp edge and try to hack at this, we'd have to go back and forth, back and forth. A lot of the power that I'm putting into the axe head is being transferred into this and then forward, and it's not really doing a lot of cutting. So there's a way to combat that, and that is to create that rubber band effect. So right now, this is the loosey-goosey rubber band. But to fix that, we're simply going to take our tree and we are going to bend it as close to the forest floor as we can. That is creating a very tight section through here, hence the tight rubber band. The more you can push the tree down, the better. Now, this is going to take some experience to do this a few times until you realize where the tightest part of this rubber band is. What is happening here is we are stretching out the fibers, we're making them tight, and we're making them way more cuttable. It's giving us a good solid cutting surface. So I'm going to give this a good bend, and I'm going to just assess. Sometimes you can see the bark will start to actually stretch out a little bit, and then we're going to use our axe, now this time our sharp edge, and strike into here. We have a solid surface to cut against, plus it's a tight surface when it comes to all the fibers. And what will happen then really nice and really easily is we get a nice deep cut. Now, I didn't get all the way through on that one, so I'm going to just bend it a little bit more, create a little bit more tension for myself, and in 2 cuts, we're good to go, okay? Now, you are gonna have a little bit of a messy edge. That is not the end of the world. You notice 2 hits, messy edge. This is nice and easy to clean up now. We're not hacking and wasting a lot of energy this way. So I found a nice solid stump, which again, we talked about in a recent video. Nice cutting area. I'm not even back at camp yet, and I don't wanna have to haul this entire tree back. So what I'm gonna do is now I'm going to do a process we call bucking. So bucking is simply just cutting our sticks to length. So what we're gonna do now is decide where I wanna cut this. So again, these ends when we use that rubber band technique are a little bit messy. So I'm just gonna come up a little bit. When I do this, and I'm gonna cut and buck this, I wanna make sure that whatever area I'm cutting is on a solid surface. So if I try to cut out here, it's the same thing. You see how that's moving around? Not good. But if I do this, very little to no movement. So at this point now, we're gonna use slight offset when we cut. We're not gonna cut straight in, we're gonna cut in at an angle a little bit. So I find my solid place here. I can always test it this way. Solid hit. And then we have nice clean edges. So I can do that same thing further up. Come in here, nice solid hit on 2. And at this point now, nice edges and my stick is ready to go. Anything further is carving, and it's going to just require us to take our axe, choke up, and now start to work around the edge. All right, and there you go. That is our rubber band trick when it comes to cutting saplings. Now that works great also with a knife. A saw, you don't have to go do that, but any kind of edge tool, that is the preferred technique to do that. And then you saw also as far as cutting trees to length, or what we call bucking them up, very easy process. And then from that, we would use a choked up grip and we would carve, which we'll talk about in more videos. But now you have some sticks to take back into camp for future projects. So if you like this video, hit like and subscribe down below. You can also check us out at Coalcracker, Bushcraft.com for all our classes, our gear, and our blog. And until the next video, stay in the woods.